revealed. How a poor mechanic's son transformed scrap into an incredible Cadillac in just 3 years. In the heart of a small Midwestern town, where the scent of gasoline intertwined with the laughter of children on hot summer nights, 12-year-old Jake was on a mission. His family's old garage, once a buzzing hive of activity, now stood quiet, shadows lurking in the corners. The garage was more than just a workspace. It was a sanctuary where dreams mingled with grease and grit. Ever since his father's life-altering injury, this haven had become a battlefield where hope clashed with hardship. Jake's heart raced each time he wandered through the rows of rusted tools, the faint echoes of his father's laughter lingering like a comforting blanket. He gazed at the hulking shape of a forgotten Cadillac, its surface kissed by years of neglect, and deep down, he knew it was destined for greatness. The car was far from merely scrap. It was a canvas awaiting a maestro. With keen eyes and trembling hands, Jake imagined restoring it to its former glory, sparkling paint, chrome shining in the sunlight, and a powerful engine that roared with life. Hidden in the dreams of the Cadillac, Jake envisioned cruising down Main Street, the townspeople cheering, his family proud. He could almost smell the newly painted metal, hear the hum of the tires on the asphalt, and feel the joy bubbling inside him. But then came the day shadows darkened his dreams. A wealthy businessman approached with shiny shoes and a condescending smirk. He saw the Cadillac not as a dream but as rusty scrap, offering Jake a meager sum that felt like a slap in the face. "Just a hunk of junk, kid," the businessman said, waving dismissively. Each word cut deeper than any wrench. Jake's chest tightened. How could someone not see the potential? This wasn't just a car. It was a lifeline for his family's dignity, a chance to claw back from despair. Refusing the offer became his rallying cry. Each bolt tightened, echoing his family's struggles. Flickering lights at home, his father's weary sighs, they were no longer just burdens but fuel for his determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. But as tension simmered, another twist arrived. Jake's estranged grandmother came back into town, bringing with her a whirlwind of memories and emotions. Stories of the family's past filled the air around them, tales of respected mechanics who turned rust into gold. Her words ignited a fire in Jake, revealing layers of pride and history he never fully understood. As the annual town fair approached, excitement electrified the air. Jake's heart raced with both anticipation and fear. Would he unveil the true spirit of hard work and determination, or would privilege snuff it out? Standing before his half-finished project, doubts tugged at his mind but were met with fierce resolve. The stakes couldn't be higher. The future of the Cadillac, and with it his family's pride, hung in the balance. Would Jake rise to this once-in-a-lifetime challenge, or was he about to lose everything he fought so hard for? A storm brewed within him, and the answer would soon be revealed. The day of the town fair dawned bright and clear, the sun casting warm rays across the town's familiar streets. Jake stood at his garage, heart thumping loudly in his chest. The Cadillac loomed before him, its faded exterior a mix of stubborn beauty and untold potential. With a final sweep of his hand, he brushed away the dust, revealing the gleam of metal beneath. The car was almost ready. It just needed one last push as the streets filled with townspeople, laughter mingling with the scent of cotton candy and hot dogs. Jake tightened his grip on a wrench. Each turn of the tool felt like a promise, a stitch in the fabric of hope. His grandmother's stories echoed in his head. Tales of resilience, of ancestors who transformed the ordinary into the extraordinary. Her pride in their lineage spurred him on. "Jake," a familiar voice called. It was his best friend, Marco, running toward him with a beaming smile. "Are you ready for this? You're about to become a legend today." Jake couldn't help but break into a grin. I'm trying, but there's still a lot to do. Don't sweat it. You've worked too hard to give up now, Marco encouraged, patting him on the back. Jake took a deep breath, composing himself. As he surveyed the bustling scene outside, a trapdoor of lingering doubts began to open in his mind. What if it wasn't enough? What if the townspeople looked at his work and only saw failure? The thought gnawed at him. Just then, a little girl trotting by with her mother caught sight of him. She pointed excitedly at the Cadillac, her wide eyes sparkling with wonder. "Mom, look, that car can fly," she exclaimed, completely sincere. Jake felt something shift within him, a tiny flicker of encouragement. "Believe it, kiddo. This one's about to take off," he shouted back with more confidence than he felt at that moment. He envisioned the Cadillac in its prime, racing through open roads, laughter and freedom entwined in its wake. He could almost hear the engine's roar and see the smile on his father's face as the fair unfolded. Jake worked with fervor, each turn of his tools resonating with his determination. The sun hovered high, casting an unwavering spotlight on his efforts. Hours passed, a blur of frantic energy mixed with quiet reflection. When the moment finally arrived for the unveiling, a crowd had gathered, curiosity painted on their faces. Jake's heart raced as he looked over the attendees. Some were friends, others mere acquaintances, but all shared a common interest sparked by the Cadillac's presence. He could see the wealthy businessman from before wandering near the back of the crowd, arms crossed, a skeptical look etched on his face. Doubts crept back in. What if he was wrong? "Jake!" Marco's voice broke through his racing thoughts. "Come on, it's time." With a gulp, Jake moved to the front of the crowd. The tarp covering the Cadillac hid something he believed mirrored his soul: the struggle, the heartbreak, but also the hope. With trembling hands, he pulled the tarp away. Gasps erupted, followed by an awe-filled silence as the sunlight glinted off the freshly polished surface. Something within Jake surged. Praise was one thing, but what he truly hoped for was connection. Could they see the heart and spirit embedded in every detail? Would they understand his struggles? The businessman stepped forward, eyebrows raised, clearly taken aback. Jake felt a mix of fear and anticipation. This moment was eternal and fragile all at once. And then, just as Jake was about to speak, the thrumming presence of the crowd shifted. A loud gasp ripped through the air. A car engine roared to life. Every eye turned. A collective breath held tight. In that instant, Jake realized the real magic of the Cadillac wasn't just in its restoration, but in the stories it would tell. How would the townspeople react? Would they embrace this transformation, or still see Jake as just a boy in a garage? The weight of the moment hung heavy, and he clutched the edge of the Cadillac, ready to find out. The roar of the engine echoed through the fairgrounds, filling the air with a mix of surprise and excitement. Jake froze, eyes wide, as the sound settled over the crowd like an electric blanket. People exchanged glances filled with curiosity and disbelief. Was it real? Could this old Cadillac truly come back to life? Is that? Marco's voice trailed off, his expression mirroring Jake's shock. As the engine purred softly, Jake felt something in his chest tighten. The moment felt surreal, like a dream he never wanted to wake from. He had devoted everything to this car. Now it was finally showing its strength. The businessman at the back of the crowd stepped closer, curiosity overtaking skepticism. Jake's heart raced even faster. Would this man, with his tailored suit and polished shoes, see the value in his hard work? Or would he scoff at a less-than-perfect restoration? The crowd began to murmur, voices rising like wild flames in the wind. Words of excitement and disbelief floated through the air. "A Cadillac that runs!" one townsperson exclaimed. Another chimed in, "I've never seen anything like it." Jake tightened his grip on the Cadillac's hood, grounding himself. He could almost hear his grandmother's voice again, urging him to stand tall and embrace his worth. This was his creation, his story woven into every groove and curve. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake finally called out, his own voice surprising him as it rang clear. "This car isn't just metal. It's a piece of history, a testament to perseverance and dreams. He glanced over at Marco, who gave him a thumbs up, urging him on. Confidence filled him like a heavy warm blanket. Every scratch you see tells a story of hard work, and every shine reflects hope for tomorrow. It's more than just a Cadillac, it represents all of us who dare to dream big. As his words rolled out, the town folk nodded, their expressions softening. Jake's chest swelled, bringing with it a sense of belonging. Could it be possible? Could they really connect with his vision? Then came the little girl from before, standing on her tiptoes, eyes ablaze with admiration. "Can I touch it?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. Her mother smiled down at her, giving a nod of approval. Of course. Jake grinned, stepping aside as the little girl approached the Cadillac, reaching out with tiny fingers toward the polished surface. Jake's heart fluttered. This was what he had worked for, the wonder, the engagement, the laughter that burst from within people when they saw the beauty in something they had discarded. The crowd inched closer, curiosity bubbling like the warm soda in their cups. Suddenly, the businessman cleared his throat, gaining everyone's attention. He approached Jake with a measured stride, a new light in his eyes. "Exceptional work, young man," he said, his voice steady yet impressed. "We might have to talk business after all." Jake's breath caught. Business? The thoughts raced through his mind. This could be everything he'd hoped for, the bridge from a dreamer to a doer, from just a boy in a garage to something greater. But right then, as cheers erupted around him and hope soared higher than ever, a familiar unease crept back into his heart. What if this moment was fleeting? What if the admiration fizzled and the businessman's interests were short-lived? Then, just as Jake opened his mouth to express his thanks, he noticed something behind the crowd, a shadow lurking, someone waiting. Who was that? Before he could figure it out, the roar of a second engine shattered the moment, pulling everyone's eyes in its direction. Jake turned, confusion mixing with irritation. Would this fare never settle? What was happening now? Could this stranger's appearance ruin the very moment he had longed for? Anxiety washed over him as he remembered everything he was fighting for: a future, a purpose, a way out of doubt. The roar continued, and underneath it all, Jake felt that old fear whispering again. Was it too late? His heart raced anew as he faced the crowd, uncertainty mingling with a spark of hope. Just as he was ready to understand this new challenge, a voice cut through the noise, an unexpected voice that left him frozen in place. "Hey Jake, I think you'll want to see this." Jake turned sharply to face the voice, the familiar sound slicing through the chaos like a hot knife through butter. It was Sarah, a former classmate and now a local journalist. Her eyes sparkled with excitement, the camera swinging at her side, ready to capture this pivotal moment. "What is it?" he asked, his heart pounding. Was she really here for him amid all this commotion? "Just come with me," she urged, her voice filled with urgency. The crowd was still entranced by the Cadillac, but Jake couldn't shake the feeling that whatever Sarah saw was worth leaving that spot for, even if just for a minute. He glanced back at the businessman, who seemed to be momentarily distracted by the second engine's growl. "Okay," Jake said, nodding to Marco, who shot him an encouraging grin. They would still have these moments. He followed Sarah through the crowd, the chaos fading into muffled background noise. She led him to a quieter corner near the food stalls where the fair's excitement was just a distant hum. She pulled out her phone and turned it toward him, showing a news article that made Jake's heart drop. "Jake, look," she said, scrolling through the article until it landed on a headline. "Local man's passion project gains national attention." The article detailed his journey with the Cadillac, complete with progress photos, testimonials from townsfolk, and now the huge gathering at the fair. Jake's mouth went dry. "How did you get this published so fast?" "I rushed back to the office as soon as I heard the engine. I had to get the scoop. This is big, Jake. I knew your work deserved more attention than just what's local." He felt a surge of appreciation but also a wave of nerves. What would happen now? Would the world actually see him as more than just a mechanic's son? What if this gets too big? What if I can't handle it? He confessed, worry creeping in. Sarah placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You've got to trust yourself. You have a gift, and now is your chance to share it. People want to hear your story. They want to support you. Jake exhaled, considering her words. The weight of the article felt heavy yet invigorating. But just as he was starting to feel that spark, the noise of the second engine grew louder. It was unlike anything he had ever heard, a rumble that reverberated through the air, vibrating in his bones. Let us get back, he said suddenly, feeling the pull of the crowd again. He wanted to be a part of this, to not just run from the spotlight but to embrace it. They returned to the fairgrounds to find an unexpected crowd forming around a shiny, custom motorcycle, a glaring contrast to his Cadillac. The crowd was buzzing with admiration and disbelief. Jake squinted to see the man on the motorcycle, clad in leather and sporting a wild grin. It was the kind of grin that promised danger and adventure. The businessman from earlier stood there, his expression now a mix of awe and competition. The motorcycle revved again, and with each roar, Jake felt a burning determination rise within him. This was more than just a moment. It was a test. All right, Jake rallied, using every ounce of courage he could muster. We're not backing down. This is our moment. He had to show everyone that he could stand tall alongside any rival. Old Cadillac or not. As he journeyed forward, he approached the businessman again. Let us talk, Jake said, his voice steady. At that moment, he realized the crowd didn't define him, he defined himself. But just as conversations began swirling around him, the biker leaned in closer, a glimmer in his eyes. You think you're ready for a little competition? Jake's heart raced. Was that the challenge he thought it was? Did he have what it took to face not just the businessman's interest but this biker's dare as well? With his pulse quickening, he stared into the biker's eyes, feeling the heat of possibility swirling in the air around him. Would this be the push he needed to claim his space in a world that had overlooked him for too long? Absolutely. Let us do this, Jake replied, resolve pouring out with each word, unaware that this decision would alter everything he thought he knew about dreams and the risks it took to chase them. What would this challenge mean for his future? And was he ready for what lay ahead? The roar of the motorcycle echoed around them, a challenge hanging thick in the air. Jake felt the adrenaline surge through his veins, mixed with equal parts excitement and dread. He had never been one for competition, but this felt different. It was as if a fire had been ignited within him, pushing him to stand his ground. First race of the night, the biker announced, his voice cutting through the murmurs of the crowd. Winner gets bragging rights and respect. Jake's heart pounded in his chest. Would anyone really respect him? He was just a kid from the wrong side of town, working in his dad's shop. But then again, this was his moment, wasn't it? The chance to prove himself was right before him. Where's the race? Jake asked, his voice steady despite the whirlwind in his mind. The crowd shifted, eyes widening with interest, whispering amongst themselves as they anticipated the unfolding drama. The biker pointed down a stretch of the fairgrounds, where the lane opened up along the side of the Ferris wheel, dotted with blinking lights and laughter. Here, first one to the tent and back. He nodded toward the brightly colored tent where the crowd gathered for the competitions. Easy enough, don't you think? Jake felt the pressure mounting. He glanced at Sarah, whose eyes gleamed with encouragement. Are you in? She asked, her voice warm. For a brief moment, Jake hesitated, the weight of every doubt he'd ever carried rushing to the forefront. What if I fail? He glanced back at the Cadillac, its gleaming curves whispering promises of hard work and dedication. Could he betray its legacy by losing? But before he could spiral into self-doubt, he remembered what Sarah said. This was his chance to show everyone who he was to show himself. Yeah, Jake replied, his tone firm. I'm in. A ripple of excitement surged through the crowd. The biker grinned, clearly amused. Let us see what you've got, then. They took their places. Dusk painted the sky in brilliant oranges and deep blues, darkness settling in around them. Escaping the noise of the fair for moments that felt suspended in time, Jake inhaled the air heavily charged with anticipation. A loud countdown began, the crowd joining in with cheers. 3, 2, 1, go. Jake hit the gas, The Cadillac leaped forward, roaring to life as the engine growled, responding to his urgency. Wind whipped through his hair as he tore down the makeshift track, feelings of doubt fading with each shift of the gears. He glanced sideways, catching the gleam of the motorcycle effortlessly gliding next to him. The biker, with all his confidence, surged forward, but Jake didn't tee back down. The Cadillac was gaining speed, with its rich machinery harmonizing with his resolve. With the tent flashing near, he focused, living for this moment. It felt like something alive pushing him, a force spurring him on. Each rev was a battle cry, every turn a step toward claiming his place. Then came the moment of truth. As they neared the tent, Jake could feel the thrill coursing through him. But just as he rounded the last bend, disaster struck. The biker veered dangerously near, a sudden move that sent Jake's heart racing in panic. The decision loomed over him. Pull back or push ahead. Would he dare to risk it all for this high-stakes game? The clock was ticking, and his destiny was within reach. In that heartbeat, as the crowd's excitement drowned out every thought, Jake realized he was far more than a mechanic's son. He was a fighter, ready to seize his moment, ready to roar back. Would he risk it all in this split second, or would he let doubt take the wheel? Jake felt every heartbeat thrumming in his ears as he gripped the steering wheel tighter. The biker was inches from his door, and the wind howled, urging him forward. Fear crept in like a shadow, pulling at his resolve. What if this was the moment everything went wrong? With the crowd screaming, the energy felt electric. All eyes were on him. He leaned into the turn, the Cadillac responding to his instincts like a loyal companion. He could hear the roar of the motorcycle right beside him, a constant reminder of the challenge. The lights from the Ferris wheel blurred in his peripheral vision, dazzling him in a kaleidoscope of colors. With one swift glance, he saw Sarah's face in the crowd, a mix of hope and fear etched in her features. That look ignited something deep inside him. He wasn't just racing against the biker, he was racing for her, for himself, for every single time he felt worthless. Adrenaline coursed through him, pushing out every ounce of doubt. When the biker leaned forward, Jake's instincts kicked in. He pressed the pedal further down, feeling the Cadillac respond with a sudden burst of power. The engine roared, and the next moment was a blur of speed and sheer will. He couldn't think about falling short. He had to focus on crossing that finish line. The tent loomed ahead, brightly lit, a promise of victory glowing amidst the chaos. He could feel it, the air thick with anticipation, the taste of triumph almost palpable as he barreled toward it. But the biker wasn't letting up. Both machines surged forward, engines growling, each driver unwilling to yield as they neared the tent. Jake felt the jolt of the road beneath him. The Cadillac was trembling, fighting against the weight of competition. He could hear the roar of the crowd, now a living organism building its heartbeat in unison with the race. In this moment, every fear, every insult he had ever swallowed, disappeared. There was no past, only this. He took a deep breath, letting all of his worries drain away. He had learned to fix engines, to understand the mechanics that made them roar, but now he needed to trust in something deeper, his own spirit. That fire inside him surged, and just as he thought he couldn't go any faster, he grasped what this race truly was. Not just about speed, but about who he wanted to be. With one final surge of determination, he edged ahead of the biker. They were neck and neck as they raced towards the finish line. Then came the moment that would either break him or set him free. A decision to swerve or hold steady as the biker attempted to nudge him off course. Not today, Jake thought fiercely. He pressed the accelerator even harder, willing the Cadillac to push through against every instinct that screamed for caution. He was going to give it everything he had. The finish line was just ahead, and with a final push, he erupted past the biker, a rush of air and victory enveloping him. The crowd erupted into cheers, drowning out every doubt he had ever carried. But even in those heady moments of triumph, a sense of impending change loomed large. What did it mean for him now to be seen differently? Could he hold on to this feeling? Jake crossed the finish line, feeling both elation and uncertainty spilling into one another. As cheers erupted around him, He couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. But even as the jubilation swelled, a flicker of doubt remained a whisper in the back of his mind. What if the respect he gained was fleeting? The biker pulled up next to him, grimacing but impressed. Good race, kid. But this isn't over. Jake's heart sank slightly. What did he mean? Would this victory cost him something he hadn't counted on? With the night still young and challenges brewing just ahead, this moment of triumph was tangled in threads of uncertainty. Would he really be ready for what came next? Jake could still feel the thrum of the crowd in his veins, the deafening cheers echoing in his ears as he clutched the steering wheel, his heart still racing. But now it was all about to shift. Victory was sweet, but the biker's words hung ominously in the air, a reminder that the road ahead might be bumpier than he'd anticipated. He glanced over at Sarah, who was struggling to weave through the throngs of fans pushing toward him. Her face lit up like the neon lights illuminating the carnival. Yet he could see the concern etched in her face. He wanted to reach out, to pull her close and share the triumph. But the biker's glare cut through the moment. You think you're something special now, don't you? The biker's voice held a mockery that made Jake bristle. He was already riding on the high of the race, and now this? Jake had defied his own expectations. He had won. Yet here was this guy, a reminder of the hurdles still ahead. Jake squared his shoulders. Winning is just the beginning. You keep trying to push me around, but I'm not done yet. Good. I like a challenge. The biker smirked, revving his engine. You'll see me again soon enough. This isn't over, kid. With that, the biker peeled away, the motorcycle roaring off into the night. Jake's exhilaration began to warp into apprehension. What did this mean? Would there be a rematch? How would he prepare himself against someone so skilled? He couldn't let doubt creep in again. He had to dig deeper than before. Jake! Sarah finally reached him, her hands gripping the side of the Cadillac, her breath catching as she took in his flushed face. You did it. I can't believe you won. His smile faltered slightly. Yeah, but... The biker said it isn't over. What if he wants revenge? She shook her head firmly, her eyes fierce. You can't let that get to you. You've already shown you're more than what they think you are. Embrace it. You didn't just win a race. You're changing who you are. Jake nodded slowly. Her words resonated, reminding him of the reasons he had started this journey in the first place. He glanced around, taking in the chaotic energy of the fair, the cheers of those who believed in him. But somewhere in his mind, the threat loomed, ready to pounce when he least expected it. As Sarah's excitement pulsed through him, Jake felt a shift of flicker of resolve igniting once more. No matter what challenges were to come, he needed to fortify himself, both in spirit and skill. He had 3 years of hard work and sweat behind him. He shouldn't let doubt define his moment now. They walked toward the crowd, and Jake let the waves of excitement wash over him, the feeling of triumph lapping at his feet. People surrounded them, offering pats on the back, cheers and shouts of admiration. This moment, this feeling, it was a rush he never wanted to lose. Yet the shadows of uncertainty still pressed in, whispering reminders of potential loss. Let us start figuring this out, he said, conviction shining in his voice. First, I need to make sure my Cadillac can keep up. I don't plan on losing what I've just gained. As Sarah nodded, he felt a stirring determination swell up within him. There was no way he would let this victory slip through his fingers. He had a future to build, a legacy to uphold. But deep down, he knew that to truly prepare, he needed to learn what flaws lay hidden beneath the beauty of his ride. Jake, Sarah said softly, pulling his attention back to her. No matter what lies ahead, you're ready. Just remember, we're in this together. As he looked into her eyes, he couldn't help but feel a warmth bloom in his chest. Whatever was coming, he wouldn't face it alone. The crowd around them showed that he had already carved a path. Now he just needed to ensure he kept moving forward. But in the shadows of that same tent, Jake glimpsed the biker again, a figure not quite ready to fade from view. The tension in the air was palpable, a reminder that the race was far from over. What lay ahead would test not just his skills but every ounce of courage he had mustered. Would he find the strength to face the next challenge? Jake's heart raced not just from the adrenaline of the race but from the weight of the biker's words. The thrill of victory was clashing with an undercurrent of uncertainty, and it nagged at him like a tire losing air. Winning felt good, but now, tainted with doubt, it blurted out vulnerabilities he had buried. After a quick embrace with Sarah, he wiped the sweat from his brow, trying to shove those worries aside. "Let us grab a drink," Sarah suggested, her eyes twinkling in the glow of the fairground lights. "You need to celebrate, not stew." He forced a smile and nodded, but the biker's smirk haunted him, shadowing the joyous atmosphere they were supposed to be enjoying. As they navigated through the throngs of adrenaline junkies and carnival-goers, Jake tried to take in the sights, hoping to drown out the uneasiness that had settled in. Bright colors flashed all around, and laughter rang out while the smell of popcorn and fried dough swirled in the warm night air. Children's faces lit up as they rushed past him, clutching bags of candy, blissfully unaware of the battles that lay ahead. "There's the refreshment stand," Sarah pointed, and they veered toward it. "Can I have a soda?" she asked. "You know I need some sugar to keep this party going." Jake nodded, taking their place in line as they waited. Jake's mind clung to the looming threat. What if the biker really was serious? What if he came back stronger? Memories of long nights spent working on his Cadillac, scrimping and saving, flooded back. Every small transformation he'd made to that car felt like a symbol of his journey. Sure, it was a victory worth celebrating, but it also stood as a challenge now. "Hey," Sarah nudged him gently. "You're thinking too much." He sighed, searching for the right words. "Worried about what it means to keep winning. That biker, he's not gonna just let this go. We can handle whatever comes next." "You've got the skill and the heart," she replied firmly. Heart. Jake felt a swell of warmth at her faith in him. If there was one thing that driving that Cadillac taught him, it was that heart matters. It was risk, grit, and fighting through the doubt. "I need to make this car even better," he said, his voice steady for the first time that night. "I've barely scratched the surface." Just then, a loud roar caught his attention. He turned, and in the distance, he spotted the biker again, honking his horn, revving that imposing motorcycle. Jake's stomach flipped. Was he making a show of it? Jake swallowed hard. There was no way he would let that guy intimidate him again, not after the win. "Let us take a walk. Okay?" Jake suggested to Sarah, who nodded in agreement. They moved away from the throngs, into a quieter area near the food stalls. "Okay, what's the plan?" Sarah asked, excitement barely contained. "I have to get some upgrades for the Cadillac. I need a mentor, someone who can show me how to really push it to the next level," he said, determination firing up in him. "Are you thinking about Old Man Harris?" Jake paused. Harris was a legend in their small town, a grumpy mechanic who had worked on the fastest cars. His wisdom unmatched, but his personality a tough nut to crack. Could he help him? "Yeah, maybe he could teach me a thing or two." "Jake, you need to connect with him first." "Yes, not easy." "Neither am I," he shot back playfully. With a renewed spirit, they stepped back into the crowds. Jake laughed, feeling the thrill of possibility wash over him. There was a fight ahead, and he knew he wouldn't face it unprepared. But as they rejoined the festivities, a sudden chill raced down his spine. He turned, spotting the biker glancing his way, a wicked smile crossing his face. It seemed the game was already set. "Are you ready for this, Jake?" Sarah asked, sensing the shift. He nodded slowly, knowing in his gut that the journey to becoming more than just a racer would mean facing fears he had yet to fully understand. "What if I'm not?" he replied, heart pounding. "Then we'll figure it out together," she said, her grip tightening around his arm. But just how prepared? Could they really be? The answer waited just beyond the carnival gates, and Jake knew the real test was waiting for him to uncover. Jake stepped back into the vibrant chaos of the carnival, the neon lights flashing like stars in the night. But the thrill of celebration was dulled by the biker's shadow looming over him. Jake could feel adrenaline coursing through him, an electric pulse urging him to confront his fears rather than flee them. "Hey, what's wrong?" Sarah asked, tilting her head slightly, concern folding into her features. "Just this whole thing. Winning a race doesn't mean I've won anything." It feels like I'm drawing a target on my back instead. Her eyes softened. Jake, you're a good driver. You earned that win, remember? Don't let him take that from you. Jake opened his mouth to respond, but his words fell away. The biker was everything he wasn't: brash, loud, and full of bravado. Jake had always admired strength in those who wielded it, but he wasn't sure how to channel that same confidence. Come on, it's just one guy, Sarah urged, a spark of determination flashing in her eyes. If anything, he's just jealous. But he wasn't so sure. What if the biker had the connections or the experience to make things difficult? What if he was right about Jake never being able to keep up? Let's find Old Man Harris, he decided suddenly. The name itself brought weight, like it carried years of grit and grease. Tomorrow morning, I'll seek him out. I need to learn from the best. Now that's the spirit. Sarah cheered, the warmth of her enthusiasm easing some of Jake's trepidation. Give him a ring when we get home. With that short burst of positivity, they continued through the fair. Laughter surrounded them, moments of joy radiating from small children competing for cotton candy prizes and couples stealing glances as they strolled hand in hand. Jake tried to let that happiness wash over him. They found a small bench off to the side, the carnival whooshing all around them at a frenetic pace. As they sat down, Jake's heart sank, pulled under by a wave of homesickness he hadn't expected. Memories of his father working late hours, grease and metal surrounding him, popped up unbidden. Lakeview racing? I remember us watching down from the hill. That was when everything seemed simpler. Hey, are you listening? Sarah snapped him back to the moment. What? Yeah, I'm sorry. She laughed lightly, but tension brimmed beneath the surface. I can hear those gears turning in your head from over here. Let us stick together, all right? You're not alone in this. Jake ran a hand through his hair, eyes darting around to find the biker again. But the man had vanished into the throng, like a bullet disappearing into the night. Do you really think I can do this? Of course. You've got heart, she echoed back, leaning closer. Just like the Cadillac. It's not just a car, it's you. What you pour into it shows who you are. Her words rang true, like a bell in the fog. Jake had spent years transforming that heap of metal into something beautiful, a testament of grit with the potential for greatness. Here stood another challenge, another chance to become more than he was. They both jumped when a blaring horn cut through the air, and Jake whipped around. The biker's motorcycle roared past, an intimidating shadow streaking through the fairgrounds, laughter dissipating around him. The thrill surged through Jake again, fear threaded with determination. This isn't over, he said, rising abruptly. Not by a long shot. Jake, wait! Sarah cried, but he was already striding away. No more second-guessing. The whispers in his head faded, and the hunger to fight grew louder. He could be more. He would be more. With every step, he could feel himself unraveling the threads of doubt, weaving in a new narrative. As they neared the carnival exits, Jake turned. I'll face him again when I'm ready. I won't allow fear to tie me down. Good. Just promise me you won't let your pride get in the way of seeking help. Remember, it's okay to ask. He nodded, her sincerity sinking deep. I will, I promise. But inside, questions churned. Would Harris see his potential? And would it be enough to stand against the biker when the time came? The thought hammered in his chest, mixing with the heat of determination. Little did he know, the path ahead was paved with trials far beyond the racing tracks, and he would need every ounce of heart he could muster. As they left the carnival noise behind, he whispered to himself, tomorrow will change everything. But with change comes the unexpected. What would it reveal, and would he be ready to embrace it? The sun broke through the clouds the next morning, casting a golden light over Jake's world. Today felt different. It buzzed with potential, and he could barely contain the energy pulsing inside him. After the cacophony of yesterday, today he would finally seek out Old Man Harris, his mentor, his chance to elevate his game. The air was crisp, filled with the scent of dew and possibility. Jake stood in front of the towering garage doors, feeling the weight of the Cadillac behind them. He remembered the gasps of wonder during the unveiling, the way the townspeople had cheered him on. The turn of the engine still echoed in his mind, like a heartbeat marking the start of something grand. Sarah would be waiting for him soon, but first, this moment belonged to him. With a determined breath, he pushed the doors wide open. Sunlight flooded the garage, illuminating the Cadillac's polished chrome like it was ready for its next adventure. He could picture it speeding down the highway, hearts racing with joy. But a shadow of doubt lingered. Was it truly enough? As he prepared for the drive to Harris's shop, he allowed himself to picture the businessman's face at the fair, a mixture of grudging respect and renewed interest. Memories of the biker's laughter at his expense bubbled up, but Jake shook them off like dust. This was his moment to carve his own path, and he could do it as long as he held that dream close. The drive felt longer than usual, anticipation gripping him tighter. He rolled through his small town, each familiar street fueled with fresh determination. Arriving at the shop, he felt his stomach flutter with nerves, the kind that tangles with excitement. Old Man Harris was a legend not just for his skill, but for the gruff wisdom that came wrapped in a crusty exterior. Jake stepped inside, the smell of grease and metal washing over him. Harris was bent over a classic Mustang, a blank canvas awaiting its resurrection. "Morning, kid," he grunted, barely glancing up. "What do you want?" There it was, the challenge he needed. "I want to learn," Jake said, his voice steady. Harris finally looked up, a thin eyebrow raised, curiosity glimmering beneath the surface. This was the big moment, and it could go either way. "You want to learn? Huh?" Harris mused, wiping his hands on a rag. "What makes you think you're cut out for this?" "The Cadillac," Jake replied boldly. "I restored it. I want to know how to make it faster, better. I want to win against anyone who doubts me." Harris paused, reading the sincerity in Jake's eyes. It was like a spark lighting the dark. "All right, kid. You've got guts. Meet me at the track this weekend, and if you're serious, I'll show you how to do it right." Hope rekindled within Jake. "Thank you. I won't let you down." As he stepped back outside, the weight of uncertainty that had clung to him washed away. He could feel the sun on his skin, invigorating his spirit as he climbed into the Cadillac. With hands steady at the wheel, he drove home feeling lighter, knowing he was embarking on a new phase of his life. Days turned into a whirlwind of prepping for the weekend, tuning the Cadillac under Harris's watchful eye. Each adjustment, every lesson learned, transformed not just the car but Jake himself. The energy in the garage crackled, the sound of metal clanking, laughter echoing from Marco during afternoon visits, and Sarah's encouraging cheers. What felt impossible was becoming attainable, and with each turn of a wrench, Jake felt the chains of doubt loosen. The weekend arrived, bright and filled with palpable energy. Jake found himself at the racetrack, a buzz of engines revving around him. He spotted familiar faces, locals gathering in excitement, words of encouragement swirling in the air like confetti. And there was the biker, leaning against his gleaming machine, casting a challenging grin in Jake's direction. But now that look didn't terrify him. It fueled him. He approached his car, hands confident on the wheel, heart alight with purpose. Today was about more than proving himself. It was about the transformation he had gone through in the past few weeks. This was more than a race. It was about claiming his identity. When the signal sounded, Jake blitzed forward, determination pulsing like electricity through his veins. The Cadillac roared, the engine a symphony of power, a testament to hours of hard work. He surged past the starting line, every moment a reminder of the boy who had once stood in the broken garage dreaming amid hardships as the crowd cheered. Jake sank into the rhythm of the drive, weaving through the curves, feeling the thunder of the Cadillac beneath him. He passed the biker not just as a competitor but as equals, both with something to prove. The thrill felt intoxicating, adrenaline surging, and in that moment, he knew he was finally becoming the man he had wanted to be all along. Round after round, he remembered his father's laughter in their garage, his grandmother's stories of resilience, and the support of friends who saw him beyond the mechanic's son. The final lap felt like a parade of triumph, every cheer a reminder of the journey he undertook as he crossed the finish line. Jake's heart soared. He had done it. Ecstasy washed over him, and looking out at the crowd, he was met with smiling faces and applause. Victory was sweet, but deeper than that was the realization. It was never just about racing. It was about believing in himself. He had turned a heap of scrap into a symbol of hope. The past wouldn't define him, his choices would. As the biker approached him, a smirk replaced by newfound respect, Jake held his gaze steady. "I'm not done yet," he said, heart full of conviction. The biker chuckled, clapping Jake on the shoulder. "You've got the heart, kid." Suddenly, the doubts he had once wrestled with faded like the shadows of twilight. He had risen. The journey would continue, but each step forward would be taken with confidence, knowing he was enough. He had conquered more than just the race. He had reclaimed his future. This was just the beginning. Now, as you've witnessed Jake's incredible journey, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. It truly makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about Jake's victory and transformation. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this incredible transformation. Your support means the world. Let's keep building this amazing community together.